Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have an update for the deck profile that we brought to Locals this past week, being Heroic Challenger. Unfortunately, we did not get to see how it would fare in an actual tournament, but we did play a casual match, and we came out on top 2-0, so that was really nice. So here's a cut to what the deck looks like on paper, then we'll get to the card by card. Okay, so starting off with the monsters, we're running one Heroic Challenger Warhammer. So this is obviously one of the new additions to the deck. So he's a level 6, and we basically use him to make rank 6 Xyz monsters. He does have an effect where if he destroys an opponent's monster by battle, he equips that monster from the graveyard to him, and he gains that equipped monster's attack points. But usually that's not going to be what you're using it for. You're mainly using it for rank 6 Xyz. Next, moving on to the monsters. Heroic Challenger Assault Halberd is one we run 3 of. So basically, because you want to go second with this deck, if only your opponent controls a monster, then you can just beam this out from your hand. He's basically like a Cyber Dragon. He does also inflict piercing, and when he inflicts battle damage, he adds any heroic card. So that's kind of nice. Next, running 3 Heroic Challenger Double Lance. So this guy, when you normal summon him, you can special summon another copy of Double Lance from either your hand or grave. So this is nice kind of as the game goes on a little bit, so that way you can get your grave set up and all that. It's just a nice instant rank 4 on a normal summon. Next is arguably the best normal summon, though, which is 3 copies of Heroic Challenger Morningstar. So with this one, if he's summoned, you can add a Heroic Spell or Trap from deck to your hand, although he also does have an effect that if you have at least 2 warriors already on your field, you can special summon it, and then if your life points are 500 or less, you can special summon this back from your grave with its effects negated. And then moving on to the next monster, we have 3 copies of Heroic Challenger Thousand Blades. So this, we discard a heroic card, special summon a Heroic Challenger monster from the deck, and then change him to defense position. Only drawback with that is that we are then locked into only special summoning heroic monsters from the extra deck. So we can't use this to go into Warhammer and then go into a rank 6. We can only use the Heroic Champion Xyz monsters, which is fine because you don't necessarily need the generic ones to win. So, you know, that's fine. Next, 2 copies of Heroic Challenger Extra Sword. This is one of the ones that you can definitely grab off of the Thousand Blades, because an Xyz monster that uses this as material gains the effect that when it's Xyz summoned, it gains 1,000 attack. So that just helps you go for the OTK. Next, running 2 copies of Heroic Challenger Sword Shield. So this basically is your one defensive card. It just helps protect your heroic monsters from being destroyed by battle, and it also helps protect your life points. So that way you don't lose the game, because Clave Solace pays all of your life points except for 500. So this kind of helps protect that. And then the final monster in the main deck is 3 copies of Heroic Challenger Knuckle Sword. So basically, if you control a non-level 1 heroic monster, you can special summon this from your hand, and then when it's special summoned, you can target one other monster you control. So you can either make that targeted monster's level, or you can make that targeted monster's level this. So just to use an example here, if we have this on the field, we can special summon this, and then we can either turn this into a level 1 or this into a level 4. So usually we're going to try to turn this into a level 4. So that way we can just go for the OTK, although we can go for the rank 1 Heroic Champion as well. This is also how we make the rank 6s with Warhammer. So yeah, that's going to be it for the monsters. Next, let's go to the spells. Alright, so starting off with the in-archetype spells, we're running 3 copies of Heroic Envoy. Basically, this is a Rhoda for Heroic Challenger monsters. And then if this card is in your graveyard while you have 500 or fewer life points, you can banish this to target a heroic card in your graveyard and add that to your hand. So you can actually use this, you can banish it to add another copy back to your hand. So that's kind of nice how you can recur it there. Next is 3 copies of Heroic Call. So this is an extender, or I guess you could say it's a starter or an extender. You can special summon a warrior from your hand or grave. But if it's a non-heroic monster, its effects are negated, but that does not apply in this deck because the only ones we're going to be special summoning are, of course, the Heroic Challenger monsters. And then if you have 500 or less life points, you can banish this from your grave, target one monster you control. It gains attack, or gains 500 attack for every Heroic Challenger that's on your field, and for every Heroic Challenger that is attached to Xyz monsters on your side of the field. So this just kind of helps go for the OTK. Next, to also help with that, we're running 2 Heroic Chants. So basically this doubles a monster's attack on the field, but it can't attack your opponent directly. So the idea is to try to get Clave Solish, activate its effect to pay all your life points, use Heroic Call to pump it up, then Heroic Chance to double that, and then Clave Solish's effect resolves at the start of the battle phase to double its attack again. And since we are pumping up our Xyz monsters so much, one of the I would just say one of the generic spells is 2 copies of Xyz Import. So this allows us to remove problematic monsters by just attaching them to our Xyz monsters material. Other generic spells, we've got 1 Monster Reborn just for extra material, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, of course to fix our hand, and then 1 Rank Up Magic Barion's Force for some spicy Xyz plays that we'll get into later. Next, moving on to the traps, we have 1 copy of Heroic Retribution Sword. So basically, this equips to a heroic monster you control. Any battle damage you take from the battle involving that monster is also inflicted to your opponent, and then it destroys the opponent's monster that battles it after damage calculation. So that's nice, some removal, especially if you're going first. Next, moving on to the generic trap cards. We have actually the new card, and the whole reason it got on the Legacy of Destruction special poll. Running 2 double die and 2 expendable die. So, double die, if we control no monsters, we can either special summon a level 4 or lower warrior monster from the deck, or we can target a warrior monster that we control and special summon an earth warrior that has equal or lower level. So if we get Warhammer out on the field, we can use this, target the Warhammer, get the Knuckle Sword, go into a rank 6, or we can just try to go for another rank 4. Expendable die is for interruption. We tribute a warrior, target a card on the field, destroy it, and draw a card. So this is, of course, to try to interrupt our opponent, especially things of like popping things like field spells, or something really integral that they're going to use to summon. Like, say, if they summon a tuner, we can pop the tuner. And then, finally, the last trap card is 2 copies of Spirit Barrier. So, while I control a monster, I take no battle damage. So, of course, this is because the Heroic Champion Clave Solish pays life points until you only have 500 left. So, this is a nice way to just not die. Okay, and so that was it for the main deck. So, next we're going to go to the extra deck. Okay, so I'm actually going to do the extra deck a little different. We're going to go through all of the Heroic Champion Xyz monsters first, then we'll go to the generic ones. So starting off with Heroic Champion Jarn Griper. So basically it makes it to where each time a warrior monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect each turn, it is not destroyed once per turn. So it's protection. We can also use it to gain life points back when an attack is declared, so that way we can pay again next turn, assuming we haven't ended the game already. And then we can detach 2 from this, target a warrior monster in our graveyard, special summon it back, and then this gains attack equal to that monster's attack. So it's just a nice little way to kind of pump itself up a little bit, so it's not just a little weenie sitting there. I usually like to summon this in defense position anyway, especially to dodge things like Lightning Storm, but, you know, the attack boost never hurts. We're also running 2 copies of Heroic Champion Excalibur. So you can detach 2 materials from this card, and its attack becomes double its original attack till your opponent's next end phase. This is kind of a more flashier way to try to go for the OTK rather than Clave Solace. Clave Solace is more efficient, but this is a little more flashy. So that's just another option that we have at our disposal. Next, 2 copies of Heroic Champion Gandiva, and then I'm also going to go ahead and talk about Heroic Champion Kusanagi, who we are running at 1. So Gandiva is a decent option if we're going first, because when a level 4 or lower monster is special summoned to the opponent's field, we can destroy it by detaching a material. So it's, you know, decent interruption. Kusanagi is good for if you're going up against a deck that runs a lot of trap cards, because once per turn, during either player's turn when a trap is activated, you can detach a material to negate the activation, destroy it, and then he gains 500 attack. So really good against trap decks. There's not a lot of those in the format, but, or, you know, in terms of like the local scene, there's usually not a lot that really rely on traps, but, you know, it's there in case we need it. Next, of course, is the main boy. 3 copies of Heroic Champion Clave Solace. So, basically, while he's in the monster zone, you can only attack him. And so you can actually summon 2 of this to create an attack lock if you want. I did that some on online when I was practicing for locals. And then you can pay 500, or excuse me, you can pay life points until you only have 500 left. At the start of the battle phase, you get to double the attack of 1 monster you control. And then when an attack is declared involving your opponent's monster, you can attach material from this card and target a face of monster your opponent controls, and this card gains attack equal to that monster attack till the end of the turn. So basically this is just a way to try to guarantee the OTK. Because, you know, you pump them up real big, and then, you know, so say he's like exactly 8,000 attack. He goes to attack a monster. You detach a material, target that same monster. He gains his attack, so then they'll take exactly 8,000 damage. So, yeah. That was it for the actual Heroic Champion Xyz monsters. Now we're going to go to more of the more generic ones. So, the first one I'm going to talk about is actually, I am running 1 Zubaba General. And so, you know, people that really know me and know my deck building style, I really do not like to mix archetypes most of the time. If I'm making like a rogue deck that I'm going to take to regionals, I approach that differently. But just for casual play, I like to do pure. But I decided to make an exception for this because Zubaba is not really its own fleshed out archetype. So I figured, and he's kind of cool, so I was like, you know what, I'll put him in, why not? And you don't really summon this one that much anyway, it's just an option if you want to be really flashy. Because basically, you detach a material, equip a warrior from your hand to him, and he gains attack equal to that equipped monster's attack. Next, we have 2 copies of Comics Hero King Arthur, and then as well as the CXZ's Comics Hero Legend Arthur. So this is, of course, for the Rank Up Magic Variance Force. So basically, this is a decent one going first. Because if it would be destroyed by battle, you can attach a material instead, and when you do, this gains 500 attack, and you get to inflict 500 damage to your opponent. So it protects itself, gets bigger, and inflicts damage. So it's not like terrible for this deck. Then the CXZs, once per turn, it can't be destroyed by battle, and then when it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, while it has this guy as a material, you can detach a material, banish the destroyed monster, and inflict damage equal to that banished monster's original attack. So again, just kind of more flashy plays that you can go into if you want. It's just kind of having more options for the deck. And next we're going to go into our 2 rank 6 Xyz monsters. So we have Gauntlet Launcher and Sword Breaker. So Gauntlet Launcher, you detach a material from this card to target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. That is not once per turn. So this can serve as really nice removal. So that way we can go in for a really big direct attack. Sword Breaker is more for the long game. So basically you detach a material and declare a monster type. And if that effect resolves, then at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a monster of a declared type, that monster is automatically destroyed. So basically, if, like, let's just say, like, if you're going against a dragon deck, then it's like, oh, detach material, declare dragon. Now if it ever battles a dragon, that dragon-type monster is automatically destroyed. And then, but then let's just say if in a dragon deck they also just pull out a random warrior extra deck monster or something, then you can use the second material to declare warrior. And so now if it ever battles a dragon or a warrior type monster, it gets automatically destroyed. So this card's actually not bad. It's a little slow, but I really like the effect. So yeah, that's actually going to be it for the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. The deck was really fun, had a good time. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see how it would fare in a tournament, but, you know, hopefully we'll have a tournament this week. Speaking of which, go vote in the poll. This one has been really close. The poll's been really close this week, so if you're interested in seeing one of those decks, make sure to go vote. But I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.